Hey kids, welcome back to my channel, The Thought Echo. Today we will learn about Dorothy Vaughan. Dorothy Vaughan was a pioneering mathematician and computer scientist who played a critical role in America's space race. She is one of the early NASA programmers. Dorothy Johnson was born on September 20th, 1910, in Kansas City, Missouri. And when she was 7, her family moved to Morgantown, West Virginia. School was easy for Dorothy. She graduated from high school by age 15 and went straight to college. She attended Wilberforce University in Ohio, the first American college to be owned and operated by African Americans. By the time Dorothy turned 20 years old, she had 2 degrees, one in mathematics and the other in French. After college, Dorothy worked as a high school math teacher for African American students. She married Howard Vaughan in 1932. They had 6 children. Called Dot by her friends, she stayed busy as a mother, homemaker, and math teacher until 1943. That was when Dorothy saw an advertisement for African American mathematicians. World War II had started, and mathematicians were needed. President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed an order that prohibited discrimination in the defense industry. Dorothy filled out an application in the spring of 1943. While she was waiting, the school summer break started. Dorothy didn't earn enough from teaching to take the summer off. She began working at Camp Pickett's laundry boiler plant, washing soldiers' laundry. It would get so hot and humid in the plant that going outside into the 100-degree heat of Central Virginia was an improvement. Months later, Dorothy had started back to school when she received her letter from NACA. They wanted to hire her as a human computer. She quit her teaching job. She couldn't turn down a job offer for more than double the money she had been earning. This job would let her save money for her children's education. Dorothy was among the first group of African American scientists and mathematicians hired by NACA. She thought her new job as mathematician at the Langley Memorial Aeronautical Laboratory was temporary. Mostly likely, she would return to being a high school math teacher when the war ended. Langley was more than 100 miles from where she lived. Since the job was temporary, she saw no reason to move the family. For $5 a week, she got a room closer to work and 2 meals a day. When she could, she visited her family or brought her children to stay with her for a few days. When Dorothy was still working at Langley a year later, she moved her family to join her. While the law said that African Americans would be hired, there was nothing said about working conditions. Dorothy was assigned to West Area Computing. Only African American women worked on that unit. The East Area computers were made up of white women only. The West Area computers had separate work and dining areas and separate bathrooms. Dorothy worked with other African American women doing calculations for the engineers' experiments. The teams of engineers worked with models of aircraft flown in gigantic wind tunnels that tested their durability. In 1949, Dorothy became NACA's first African American supervisor to the West Area Computer Group. The 2 previous supervisors had been white women. Her role meant she assigned the women to different projects. She also continued working on special projects. With other computer supervisors, she developed a handbook for calculating machines. Dorothy did more than calculating and supervising. She also advocated for the female computers, no matter what their race. If someone deserved a promotion or a pay raise, she spoke up. Although most calculations were still done by hand, Dorothy realized that her electronic coworker could someday take her job. She also knew that integration was right around the corner. African Americans and white people were going to be working together and competing for the same jobs. The people with the best skills would win. Dorothy began taking computer classes after work and on weekends. She encouraged other West Area computers to do the same. Congress passed the Space Act of 1958, leading the way for NACA to become NASA. A memo was sent out on May 5, 1958. The West Area Computing Unit was no more. Segregated facilities were to be a thing of the past. Dorothy joined the New Analysis and Computation Division, ACD. This group was made up of men and women of various races who all worked on computers. Not only could the computers do calculations, they also did simulations. Dorothy learned a new programming language, Formula Translator, better known as Fortran. Dorothy reinvented her career and became an expert Fortran programmer. Because of her programming skills, she worked on important projects, such as a program that developed reliable launch rockets that made it possible to launch satellites and manned space flights. NASA still uses a version of Fortran, and people still use the older versions of Fortran for older projects such as Voyager 1 and 2. Two Voyager spacecraft launched in 1977 are still sending us data about the solar system and beyond. Dorothy retired from NASA in 1971. Her contributions to computer programming and NASA remained a little-known fact until Margot Lee Shetterly published Hidden Figures in 2017. Hidden Figures is the story about African American women in the early days of NACA and NASA. Dorothy spent her retirement years being active in her church and music programs and volunteering. She passed away on November 10, 2008 at 98 years old. She didn't live to see the recognition for her role in computer programming and integrating the space industry. Thank you for listening. Remember, every story has something special to teach us, and I can't wait to share more adventures with you. If you liked the story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe.